So most people think stepping into their power looks like being more disciplined, trying to act more confident, or using force to get the shadow world to do what they want. And being more confident and doing things that are more disciplined are things that will show up when you step into your power, but they are not the cause. Stepping into your power isn't about getting the shadow world to do your bidding or trying to trick the universe into giving you what you want. Stepping into your power is remembering that it was never gone and never has been, and it's not something you need to awaken, and you don't need to put in a ton of work to step into your power, and it doesn't take a lot of time. So in this video, we're going to go into what that really means and how you can do it, and how it's a lot easier than it seems. So a big reason a lot of people feel powerless is because they're lost in the character they're playing. Now, the way I see awakening or a spiritual awakening is recognizing our tendency to get lost in the characters we play. And when you're lost in the character you're playing and you identify with your ego, with your name, with your relationships, when you're lost in the idea that you're nothing but a tiny human on a spinning rock floating through space, you are going to feel powerless. And when you want to get from point A to point B, you're going to try and force yourself to feel more disciplined. You're going to try and force yourself to feel more confident. But what we truly are isn't part of the shadow world or the world of Caesar, as Neville Goddard would call it. And the characters we play, the person I'm showing up as now, speaking to this camera, is part of the shadow world. The character you're playing, watching this video, is also part of the shadow world, but you are the light behind the character. And recognizing that is the quickest way to reclaim your power. Now, like I mentioned earlier, when you recognize this power, you're going to appear more disciplined, you're going to appear more confident, but it's not about discipline or confidence. Those are just side effects of remembering who you are. And when you remember this, you stop identifying with fear and limitation, and you naturally return to your baseline. But people feel powerless because they're loyal to identities with limitations. They're loyal to the character they're playing, and they can't see beyond, their past or their present circumstance. And when you're stuck in that loop, it's going to repeat it, and then they're going to think that their way out is through discipline and forced confidence and forced positivity. And this isn't because they lack power, it's simply because they've been lost in the character they're playing. Now, for example, we'll look at two different people. The first one is someone who's forsaken their power. They believe that they are a person on a spinning ball by complete chance and randomness, and that they need to work and struggle to get to where they want to go. And then we'll look at person number two, who, remembers who and what they are, and that discipline doesn't come from force. It comes from knowing who they are. It comes from recognizing their power. So, person number one tries to force the shadow world, gets stuck in loops of discipline and burnout, and relies on the outcomes of their actions to determine their self-worth. And they look and react to the shadow world for signs, and they try to manage the shadow world, they try to control it, and they ultimately end up getting lost in it. And this leaves them living in survival instead of their power. And person number two has recognized their tendency to get lost in the character they play. And what this means is they recognize that this human experience is us just temporarily playing as a character, and that they don't need to use force or anything like that to get to where they want to go. They rest in the knowing that they are the light behind all of these physical shadows that appear to us, and they know that it is their state of being that will lead them to where they want to go. And if they show up in the world with discipline, that's great. If they show up with more confidence, that's great. But those aren't the cause, they're only the effect of knowing who they are and resting in that knowing. Now, what this power might feel like to them is just stillness, just grounded certainty. They'll know they have nothing to prove, and they won't be reacting to the world or acting in the world out of fear, and they won't be rushing to get anything done, because they know fighting against the shadow world will only get them lost in it. And then they'll be back to square one, remembering that we're just characters playing on Earth for a short while. And then because of all of this, when they have a desire, their identity will shift naturally, because they won't be worried about the conditions of the world or the conditions of their life. And they'll know that their power exists in the present moment. They don't need to make it grand. They'll just know that the present moment is all there is, and they won't be worried about the future or the past or what's going on somewhere else. Person number 2 will recognize their awareness as the source of their experience, not their circumstance. Now we'll go into how you can apply practical steps so you can step into your power and recognize your tendency to get lost in the character you're playing. The first step is to just notice who you're being right now. It's recognizing your tendency to get lost in the character that you play. Because once you become aware of this, you stop getting lost in the stories you've been telling yourself, whether that's about yourself or about the world or about other people. You'll realize that you control the narrative of what's going on in your experience. And that you're not just experiencing this character, but you're also the author and the director of what's going on. And you won't have to try and convince yourself that you're God or that you're pure awareness or anything like that. It'll just be a quiet, grounded knowing, and that despite the fact that we are pure consciousness experiencing Earth, you'll also understand that you came here to have a human experience, but that doesn't mean you need to get lost in it. Now the third step to stepping into your power is picking a desire and just feeling what it would feel like if you already had it. It's not about forcing emotion or trying to force yourself to feel good, but it's seeing through the eyes of that new character and just noticing how the story changes for you and the world and the people around you when you've stepped into that new identity or that new character. The fourth step is to just watch how your actions change. Watch and notice to see if you've become more disciplined or are becoming more confident. But don't start with those things. Start with recognizing your power and let those other things come. If you need to be more disciplined, you will start to take the necessary actions. But all of this doesn't necessarily mean you need to be more disciplined. It just means to have more faith in yourself, because what you are is the power you're seeking. Now to sum this video up in a single sentence, you step into your power at the moment you stop identifying as the person who doesn't have any. Now, if you got any questions or gained any insights, let me know down in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.